What's up everyone, Ivan from Darkglass here, and today I will give you an overview of the latest Anagram update, KosmOS version 1.8.0. For this version, we have overhauled the look, response, and overall feature set of our three compressors: the FET Luminal compressor, the bus compressor, and the compressor limiter. The compressor thresholds of the FET Luminal compressor, the bus compressor, and also the compressor limiter have been adjusted so that both the default state of the blocks and also the minimum achievable compressor threshold are much lower than before. This allows for a much stronger compression effect and fits more signal levels than before. Even with a really low output instrument, you will still be able to compress to your needs. However, these changes might affect your existing presets depending on the compressor you have used before. For the FET compressor, this means that presets that have been saved with earlier versions will sound different now. Using the same input and output settings will result in stronger compression or gain reduction values. For the bus compressor, the biggest change is the extended threshold range and also the new default setting for the threshold. Presets saved with previous versions of the bus compressor will sound slightly different now. Using the same ratio and threshold settings as before will now give a slightly different amount of compression or gain reduction. For the compressor limiter, only the threshold range and the default state have been adjusted to accommodate for lower signal levels. This means that presets that have been saved with earlier versions will sound the same as before. We have added new features such as compression gain reduction meters inside the block settings, but also in the block images themselves. Additionally, you will now see input and output metering inside the settings of a block, which will help you when adjusting your preset. Also, another highly requested feature is that we can now zoom out when we're in signal chain view. Last but not least, we have also added some user interface changes related to the bypass function of the blocks, as well as overall system performance improvements. Now let's explore the controls of the compressors, and I will show you how they react to different playing styles as well. Now let me show you how the changes of the compressors react to my playing and also how I dial them in for the tracks that you just heard. Here we have the first preset, the groove comp, which is a fingerstyle groove, and I have the bus compressor as the first block in the chain, followed by the Super California bass amp, and at the end I have the compressor limiter. If I go into the bus compressor, I have the threshold at 26:4:1 ratio, 10 millisecond attack, and the fastest released, and I'm boosting a little bit of the output gain to compensate. Now this is not doing all too much, it's just to even out the playing a little bit so the notes don't get too loud or too quiet, but I still retain a lot of my dynamics. So as you can see, if I pluck lightly, I'm not compressing at all. And when I'm compressing, I'm not compressing too much either. It's just a little bit to even out the volume. I don't feel like my signal is getting squashed. I still retain a lot of dynamics. Because we're not using a pretty high threshold. If I was to move this counterclockwise, now I'm compressing quite a lot. And if I really do this, you can see that the gain reduction meter turns orange because we're compressing more than 20 dB of gain. And one thing that I really like about the bus compressor is that it's pretty simple to dial in. You have the threshold to determine at which point the compressor is going to start reacting to your input signal. Then you have the ratios, which can be as low as 1.5 to 1, which is pretty light, pretty subtle. 2 to 1, 4 to 1, and then the highest ratio is 10 to 1. But since we don't have the threshold set too low, we're not compressing too much anyway. But this is easy to set. Also for the attack and release, we have set values, so we don't have to guess or try to come up with a specific number of milliseconds that we want to adjust. So we have all the way to the quickest attack being 0.1 millisecond, then 0.3, 1, 3, 10, and 30. If you want to have a more percussive sound or more open, go for 30. It's the slowest attack. And if you really want the compressor to clamp down on your signal as quickly as possible, go for 0.1, for example. And of course, you can pick somewhere in the middle, depending on what you're playing. For this, I picked 10 milliseconds. It felt good. Like I said, I do not feel like I'm compressed, but it is evening out my signal. And for the release, we can go from the fastest setting at 0.1 seconds, then 0.3, 0.6, and 1.2 seconds being the slowest. I wanted the compressor to release my notes as quickly as possible, so I went for the quickest setting at 0.1 second. And I'm using the output just to compensate for the gain reduction that can happen. The blend is set at 100% because since I'm not compressing a whole lot, I don't really need to open up the compressor to give me more dynamics. Next to the bus compressor, I have the amp block, which I dialed in to my taste, and then the limiter compressor. The limiter is there to catch the notes of the slap that I'm playing in that groove. Because when I'm playing fingerstyle, you can see that there's not much compression going on there. But since I'm switching between fingerstyle and slap in that groove, I wanted those really loud transients of the higher pops to be tamed down a little bit to avoid clipping my recording interface, or if you're playing live, to avoid clipping the mixing disc. I don't feel like my signal or my playing is getting squashed. To achieve this, I have set the threshold, as you can see, at -17. And this is going to change depending on your playing style, the output of your bass, and what you have before the compressor block. A ratio of 100 to 1, what people call a brick wall limiter. The highest setting, a super quick attack to really clamp down on those transients when I slap, and also the default release. And I'm not compensating for the output gain since I want just to tame the super loud spikes. Now let's look at the pick attack preset that I made for the video. Also, just to show you, I also have a noise gate in the first block of the chain. Here I have also two compressors. The first one is the Luminal compressor at the beginning of the chain after the noise gate, then some EQ, the Microtubes B3K, an EQ block, cabinet, and a compressor block at the end using the bus compressor this time. Now, in this case, I'm using the Luminal compressor in the beginning because this is an FET compressor. And FET compressors are great for bass, especially to put the bass much more forward in the mix because of the character that they give to the signal. This one is different in terms of the controls compared to the bus compressor because we don't have a threshold control. We have only input and output. The more input you add, the more compression that's going to be applied, but also the more signal level that's going to be present, which is why you need to use then the output to compensate. And here, as you can see, I'm boosting a bit to 6.2, the default being 5, and I'm pulling back a little bit on the output to tame or to bring back the signal level after I've increased it. I'm using the slowest attack and the fastest release setting, and I'm using the default 4:1 ratio and also the blend at 100%. Also worth noting is that the FET compressor has a super fast attack and release times. So even at the slowest and fastest setting, it's still fairly quick. Now, I am using the slowest attack to make my sound a bit more percussive and to give the impression that I'm picking harder than what I actually am doing. So if I pick, and you can see there's a little bit of gain reduction happening there, but it goes down pretty quickly. And if I bypass the compressor and engage it again, it sounds a bit more aggressive. One more time. As you could hear, by putting the compressor in the beginning of the chain, I'm making my attack more consistent, but it also sounds a bit more aggressive. Going back to the signal chain, now in this case, I have the bass compressor as the last block in the chain to even the overall playing. I'm also not compressing a whole lot, it's like 3 dB. Because I don't really need to brick wall limit my playing, it's just there to tighten things up slightly, in case, for example, I add more effects to my playing or assign some to stomps or scenes, and that those changes also get even in volume. And for the last preset, I have a different bass. This is a passive jazz bass style instrument with a very low output, and I'm using the Luminal FET compressor as well. In the beginning of the chain, I have the gentle block to EQ some bass and some treble to get that modern slap tone, and the harmonic booster, which is not doing much right now, it's just doing a little bit of a character boost. And here I'm using the FET compressor to even out the slap playing between the thumbs, the plucks, the ghost notes, and so on. I'm boosting a little bit the input to get the compression amount that I want, and also boosting a bit the output since it's a very low output instrument, as I mentioned. Attack is set at the default setting in the middle to catch those pops, those loud and quick transients. And I'm releasing pretty fast since I'm also playing fast. I also have the default ratio as 4:1 and the blend at 100%. And it sounds like this. For more information on the Anagram, please visit darkglass.com or click the link in the description below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.